Welcome to Impartial Points and our look at what recession and depression are. Economic downturns are inevitable in the ebb and flow of financial systems. Terms like recession and depression are often used interchangeably, but they describe vastly different phenomena. In this video, we'll explore the fundamental differences between recessions and depressions, how they affect consumers and workers, and why understanding them is critical for businesses, policymakers, and individuals alike. By the end, you'll have a comprehensive understanding of these economic downturns and their impact on society. So, let's get started. What is a recession? A recession is a significant decline in economic activity that lasts for a sustained period, typically defined as at least 2 consecutive quarters of a negative gross domestic product, or GDP. Think of a recession as a contraction in the economy, where businesses slow down, jobs become scarce, and consumer spending declines. What are the indicators of a recession? Several key indicators signal a recession. Declining GDP. A shrinking economy is the most prominent sign of a recession. Rising unemployment. Businesses often cut jobs to save costs, increasing unemployment rates. Reduced consumer spending. Fear of job loss and lower incomes lead to decreased consumer spending, which further slows economic growth. Falling industrial output. Factories reduce production as demand declines. Recessions are a natural part of the business cycle, which includes 4 phases: expansion, peak, contraction, and recovery. They are often caused by various factors such as financial crises, asset bubbles bursting, global economic shocks, or restrictive monetary policies. What is the business cycle? The business cycle refers to the natural fluctuations in economic activity that occur over time in a market economy. These fluctuations are characterized by 4 distinct phases: expansion, peak, contraction, and recovery. Together, these phases form a repeating cycle that reflects the dynamic nature of economic growth and decline. Expansion. The expansion phase is a period of economic growth. During this phase, key indicators such as gross domestic product, employment, income, and production levels rise. Businesses experience increased demand for goods and services, leading to higher profits and investment in new projects. Job creation accelerates, and consumer confidence tends to be high, encouraging spending. This phase is often marked by optimism and economic stability. However, unchecked growth can lead to inflationary pressures as demand outpaces supply. Peak. The peak represents the height of the economic cycle. At this point, the economy is operating at or near full capacity, with low unemployment and high output. While this may seem ideal, it is often unsustainable. The peak is usually accompanied by signs of overheating, such as rising inflation and asset bubbles, which occur when prices of stocks, real estate, or other assets are significantly overvalued. The peak signals that the economy has reached its maximum growth potential before transitioning into the next phase. Contraction. The contraction phase, often referred to as a recession, is a period of economic decline. During this phase, GDP decreases, unemployment rises, and consumer spending slows. Businesses may reduce production, lay off workers, and delay investments due to weaker demand. Confidence in the economy wanes, and financial markets may experience volatility. The duration and severity of a contraction can vary, with prolonged downturns sometimes leading to depression. Policymakers often intervene during this phase through measures such as lowering interest rates or increasing government spending to stimulate the economy. Recovery. Recovery marks the transition from economic decline back to growth. Economic indicators begin to stabilize, with GDP, employment, and consumer spending showing signs of improvement. Businesses start to expand production and hire workers as confidence returns. This phase is often fueled by government or central bank policies implemented during the contraction phase, such as fiscal stimulus or monetary easing. The recovery phase sets the stage for a new cycle of expansion, completing the business cycle. Historical examples of recessions. The Great Recession, 2007 to 2009. Triggered by the U.S. housing market collapse and subsequent financial crisis, this recession had global repercussions. Unemployment soared, millions of homes were foreclosed, and economic recovery took years. The COVID-19 recession, 2020. A unique pandemic-driven recession saw a rapid decline in economic activity due to lockdowns, reduced consumer spending, and disrupted global supply chains. Aggressive fiscal and monetary responses prevented a prolonged downturn. The early 1980s recession. High inflation and tight monetary policy by the Federal Reserve to combat inflation led to a sharp economic contraction. Some economists also point to trouble with OPEC as a factor. What is a depression? While a recession describes a contraction in the economy, a depression is an extreme economic downturn that lasts for several years and has widespread and long-lasting effects. Depressions are rare and much more severe than recessions, with devastating impacts on employment, wealth, and overall economic stability. A simple definition of a depression is a severe recession that lasts 3 years or more, or the GDP falling 10% or more in any given year. What are the characteristics of a depression? Severe GDP contraction. GDP may fall by 10% or more during a depression. Prolonged high unemployment. Unemployment often reaches double digits and remains elevated for years. Deflation. Prices may fall significantly, leading to reduced wages and a vicious cycle of declining demand. Systemic failures. Financial systems, including banks and markets, often collapse or require substantial government intervention. The Great Depression, a case study. The Great Depression, 1929 to 1939, is the most notable example of an economic depression. The stock market crash of 1929. The crash wiped out billions of dollars in wealth, leading to a collapse in consumer confidence and spending. In today's dollars, most estimates put the amount of loss at over $500 billion. Bank failures. Over 9,000 banks failed, and depositors lost their savings, further worsening the crisis. High unemployment. At its peak, unemployment in the U.S. was estimated around 25%. Global impact. Countries worldwide suffered as international trade plummeted due to protectionist policies like the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act. The Great Depression reshaped economic thinking, leading to the rise of Keynesian economics and the establishment of safety nets like Social Security in the U.S. Comparing recessions and depressions. While both involve economic decline, the scale, duration, and impact of recessions and depressions differ significantly. Severity. Depressions are far more severe, with drastic declines in GDP and significant social and economic disruptions. Duration. Recessions are relatively short-lived, lasting a few quarters to a couple of years, while depressions can last a decade or even longer. Frequency. Recessions occur more frequently as part of the business cycle, while depressions are rare and catastrophic. Impact. Depressions fundamentally reshape economies and societies, while recessions cause temporary, albeit painful, disruptions. Effects on consumers and workers. Economic downturns impact consumers and workers in profound ways. Let's examine these effects more closely. Impact on consumers. Reduced spending power. During a recession, job losses or wage reductions force consumers to cut back on discretionary spending. In a depression, widespread unemployment and deflation erode household wealth, making even basic necessities unaffordable. Loss of wealth. Falling stock and housing markets reduce the net worth of households, particularly during prolonged depressions. Retirement savings and investments can lose significant value, delaying major life events like buying a home or retiring. Psychological effects. Economic uncertainty leads to stress, anxiety, and reduced consumer confidence, further exacerbating the downturn. Impact on workers. Unemployment. In recessions, unemployment rates typically rise, but recovery often brings job growth. In depressions, unemployment becomes chronic, with millions remaining jobless for years. Wage stagnation or decline. Companies cut wages or freeze raises to conserve resources. Workers may accept lower-paying jobs, leading to underemployment. Fewer opportunities. College graduates and young workers entering the job market during downturns face limited opportunities, potentially impacting their career trajectories. Job insecurity. Even those who keep their jobs may face reduced hours, benefits, and opportunities for advancement. Why do recessions and depressions happen? Recessions and depressions can be caused by a variety of factors. Financial crises. Over-leveraging and speculative bubbles can lead to financial collapses, as seen in the 2008 housing crisis. External shocks. Wars, pandemics, and natural disasters can disrupt economic activity and trigger downturns. Policy mistakes. Misguided monetary or fiscal policies can exacerbate economic problems. For example, tightening credit during a recession can deepen the contraction. Demand and supply imbalances, overproduction, or underconsumption can lead to economic contractions. Why don't prices fall after recessions? Many people wonder why prices often remain high even after a period of inflation or a recession. Here's why. Sticky prices. Businesses are reluctant to lower prices due to concerns about profitability and customer perceptions. Rising input costs. Costs for materials, labor, and logistics may remain high, preventing price reductions. Debt obligations. Companies and governments may need to maintain revenue levels to meet financial commitments. What are the tools to combat downturns? Governments and central banks use several tools to mitigate recessions and prevent depressions. Monetary policy. Central banks lower interest rates and increase money supply to stimulate borrowing and spending. Fiscal policy. Governments implement stimulus measures like tax cuts, direct payments, and public works projects. Social safety nets. Unemployment benefits and food assistance programs help maintain consumer spending. In summary, recessions and depressions are inevitable, but understanding their causes and effects helps individuals and policymakers better prepare for them. While recessions are temporary disruptions in the economic cycle, depressions are rare, catastrophic events that leave long-lasting scars. By examining their impact on consumers and workers, we can appreciate the importance of proactive measures to minimize economic hardship and foster recovery. We hope you found this discussion informative and insightful. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring the world of information at your fingertips. If you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share with others. Join us next time on Impartial Points.